like some of you have said, storytelling is when we narrate or re-explain events that have happened either to us or to some other persons, but we try to make sure that it is understood by other people. And storytelling is something that is highly enshrined in our culture, in African culture, and of course in every human culture. And because we come to understand that in everything that we do, storytelling is always at the centerpiece of it. I remember, for example, talking at in my five-part book series about storytelling, saying that our ancestors have to use storytelling to be able to have a good orientation in where they are living. Say maybe, for example, before the modern world that we live in today, they needed to know where food is and where they could maybe get water to drink, and also where the danger lies. I'm talking of several thousands of years ago in Africa. You understand that humanity came from Africa. Before we could live any other place in the world, we were living only in Africa. And, as you can see, it's one piece of land. Everything was there. The animal, very dangerous animal, and also a human being, of course. Everybody is sharing the same space. That means that it was really precarious time to live, no? You see the lions and the giraffe and the antelope, how they fight for survival. So human being at the time also have to fight for survival with this other animal, which means that you need to be really fast and have a good understanding of what is going on around you. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to survive. So most of what we know today, most of how we operate, comport ourselves today, is coming from that period, from that heritage, from how our ancestors have lived. So at that time, it is very important that you know where to hide, you know where the danger is, because if you make mistake, you will die. There is no two ways about it. That it's not like there is going to be an army that is going to protect you, no, because everybody is living in the open. So you needed to have a good understanding of where you are going to run to, where you are going to go for food, and where you are going to be able to get water to drink. All these were very important at the time, and this was, of course, passed on from generation to generation to generation through narration, through storytelling. Now, another thing that also becomes very important in those early moments is the concept of what is even food. You see, this might be very simple for somebody to just say, okay, yeah, we know what is food, but do you know how we actually come to eat the food that we eat? Why is it that we don't eat just any type of food? We eat certain type of food because we understand that this food has been tested and it is good to eat. And it is the story behind this food that helps us to understand that yes, this particular food, we can eat it. But our ancestors have actually passed down this story to us so that we don't need to do the experiment. I often say to people, particularly in our audio room on LinkedIn, that without the rudimental invention, whether you are looking at astronomy, looking at physics, looking at history, and looking at mathematics, for example, building up to the ancient pyramid of Egypt, the supercomputer we have of today will be difficult to exist, because nothing that we really have is just a pure invention of our time. Everything is a build upon what we already know before, what our ancestors have left behind us. And all these are the story, in that we need to know where we are coming from. All these are going to be very important as we relate and narrate a story to other people, because it helps us to have a bearing of what is going on. So storytelling, like I said, is important in everything that we do. It is important in everything that we do. Now, talking of maybe the situation in Jos, central Nigeria, I remember, for example, that was in 2013, I was doing a research about this particular part of Nigeria. Because even though we might be living in the diaspora, we care about what is happening at home. So I was researching about the violence that was taking place in Jos. So I was, and then I was going to travel to Nigeria. Then I booked an appointment with some people to interview. One of the people that I interviewed then was Festus Kenyamu, because the story I was actually working then was about, I titled it Motherly the Name of God, because I see a lot of African, in this case Nigeria, getting killed in the name of religion. So I was like trying to understand what is actually going on. Here in Italy, I've interviewed different people, both university lecturer and ordinary people, trying to understand how do we even resolve issues like this? Because similar things have also been happening here in Europe. You would have maybe heard of the war that took place in the Balkan region, in the ex-Yugoslavia region, where people that have been living in peace, suddenly there is war. A lot of people are dying. This is what we have all across Africa, looking at the conflict region like Rwanda. But in Nigeria too, we have this conflict taking place a lot of time, particularly in Jos, and we also have this in the southern part of the country. So then I was trying to ask some experts in Nigeria what is happening. When I went to interview Festus Kenyamu, then he was not the politician that he became today. I was trying to understand, how do we resolve this problem? How do we resolve this conflict that we have in Nigeria? What is the way forward for it? What is the story behind it? Then, of course, Kenyamu telling me how much he valued the participation of the Nigerian people in resolving the common problem that we have, in that we need to be able to build together as a country. We don't need to live on the basis of tribe, of tribalism, of religion. We as a people need to be able to stand together and forge one country that every one of us can be proud of. So that is the key message I really would like us to be able to take home, that this country, Nigeria, belongs to us. It is on us to be able to build it together. Yes, conflict is always going to be there, because like I've said before, when our ancestors were living before the modern world that we have today, there have always been conflict. But people are the ones that solve problems. They look for a way to find a common ground. They look for a way to pass down also how they have been able to find common ground to the generation that come after them, so that we are not always in a continuous chaos. I want to repeat that again, because we have the tendency to be able to create conflict, to disagree sometimes, doesn't mean that we are always disagreeing. Sometimes we also manage to make peace. It is the human being, because we are human beings, that we are able to do this, to look at our differences sometimes, but also look at what are our commonality. All these are going to be very important for us as we move into the future. So before I say a little thing about me, of course, I will bring in Dr. Agbe. Please, sir, could you say something about the program that we have, a kind of a take on that? Then I'll continue from there. Thank you.
Innovative way of trying to disseminate information. I really appreciate it. So I want to talk generally conflict. We gave a course outline on conflict, and you see what is happening in Israel, Hamas conflict. You have the Ukraine conflict, as Dr. Bay just said. We have this conflict a long time before now. So we're going to apply that as a journalist. It's a very sensitive, specialized. It's not for. I said it earlier in the class. It's not for everybody. It's not all commerce affair. Hope you're agreeing to that. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Our network is extremely very bad here. We can barely hear you, sir.
So we can use our analysts to implement information so that we will not escalate crisis. So we're going to use statements to become the resolution in solving society.
Sir, your voice is breaking. We can barely hear you.
Network here. The network is just barely trying to do something.
The network is actually breaking, sir.
Okay. So what I'm saying. Hello.
We can hear you now.
So what I'm trying to bring up here now is that we need to be trained, and these are the skills we need to get acquainted with to make in terms of conflict reporting and how to have the in-depth knowledge. The skill that is needed for us to make this, because every day we hear conflict is going on. As a journalist, we don't want to escalate it. We want to add value to society. And we need the issue of social media, the new media, is playing a very dominant role in a conflict escalation. We will have to look at the IDP camp. We'll definitely go to IDP camps and see the effects of not report conflict well as a journalist, and you're trying to take side, it can escalate. So we are using this platform to train you people to be specialized in a very sensitive profession as conflict reporters. And you have to report conflict, and you have to not play neutrals in two sides of the same coin. Don't take side, not bring your own narrative at the expense of the narrative. So we need to balance. Look at when we get to class, this guy have the accuracy, and in collecting your information or trying to get information as a journalist, you're able to know how to collect them so it will not escalate it. And this might take generally. Dr. Obehi, you can take up from there.
All right, thank you very much for that. Well, I believe that the students, they will enjoy the adventure, because we are going to be talking about storytelling and a different way to be able to use a story in reporting. As we look at different ways to be able to apply storytelling in the situation of JOS, because like I was alluded to in the beginning, we are going to understand that this is our country. We are the people. We are journalists. We need to make sure that we are not partial when we make our reporting, because essentially what we are going to do, or what we are supposed to do, is to help people to understand what is going on. We help them to have a good understanding of the situation without necessarily over embellishing what is happening, without necessarily compromising the truth, the reality of what is going on, because a lot of things are involved. Maybe people lose their life, maybe properties are damaged. So because of this reason, it is important that when we make our reporting, we try to be as fair as possible. That is very important for us and also for our country. So a few things about me. I am the author of the Storytelling series. I'm also the host of Obehi podcast, where I talk to a lot of people, interview a lot of people about storytelling and about our experiences in the diaspora, about Africa. So of the question of storytelling is really have been a while that I've been tickling with it. I'm originally from Nigeria. I think I've said that before. I'm coming from the south of Nigeria, from Urumi to be precisely. So I got to Verona in the August of 2004, and I'm still here till date. So when I came here, I was sort of curious. I tried to understand what is the experiences of other people like me, in this case, the Africans in northern Italy, because I live in the north of Italy. What you are seeing is the Arena of Verona. It's a remnants of the Roman architecture. It's one of the most famous in the city. That is why I put it there, at least to show you how where I am look like. It's just like maybe, for example, you are in Jos or in Abuja, you see those big monuments that represent the people. So when I came here, I was asking different kind of questions to the people that I met here, which are other Africans. Like, why did you come here? What are your experiences with the local people? Because I was asking this question because I believe I needed to learn something. Because even though I'm a new immigrant in northern Italy, I believe that I will also pass through the same, growing up like every other person, and I'm probably going to be like every other person that I've come to meet with time. So it was important for me to be able to learn from these people whom I was asking questions to. And some of them were, of course, much older than me, both in age and in experience. And of course, living here in Italy more than me, some were like 30 years, some were like 40 years before I came in. So it is important that at that time, I needed to learn about the Italian people, learn about the culture, learn about life generally here through the eyes of these fellow Africans. So I interviewed a number of them, and the interview that I collected, from there I created a documentary which I was screened in Verona Film Festival. Then I created 2 books from it. One is the Journey Africans in Verona, and the second one is The Color of Our Children. Of course, I'm not going to stay here today explaining the detail of each of these books to you, because that would be different from what we are talking about today. But while I was doing it, it wasn't really clear to me at the point if what I was doing was really having impact on the people. So it happened that one time I was not very well. I was in the hospital, hospitalized. I still remember the day. That was on the 7th of April, and the year is 2019. That was when it occurred to me like a kind of, you might call it a vision or a deeper message, that this that I was doing was really very important. And then I was also thinking back to where I'm coming from in Uromi, and the books I have written. Yes, I have written a couple of books, because there was a line I could actually see running across all of them, that this is really important. And perhaps I am really searching for myself and a better way to serve my community and the people, which means that this mission that I am in, the ultimate mission for me actually is to help people to understand themselves and to make better contribution in where they are living and for their life in general. So this is actually a kind of a background about me. Now, let's see what is the breakdown of what we are going to be covering in this 5 days training. Okay, I say 5 days because we are not going to be meeting every day. Each week we are going to meet one day to discuss a particular situation. And the first one, of course, is today, where we are looking at the introduction of the class, what we are going to be learning, what are the dynamics, what are the medium, what are the way for us to be able to carry out our training on storytelling and what we are going to learn in it. Now, there is something I want to share with you guys, which of course, by the end of today, I will send a link to you. We are organizing a masterclass, which is going to be this Sunday. We are inviting different experts to speak on storytelling. And of course, we already started to organize that before I got this call to do this training with you. So because I really believe in this training that we are doing, I've said, okay, let's give you also the chance to be able to participate in it. And I've already spoken to Dr. Aigbe about it. So I'm going to offer you the chance to participate in it. And some of the people that will be speaking, some of them we might invite them to talk at the last day of our training, which is day 5, so that they will also share with you what they learned about storytelling and how to apply storytelling in what you do. Because like I said at the beginning, storytelling is used in different ways. We do promote it in the area of business and in the area of professional life, because you will come to understand that politicians, religious leaders, community leaders, businesses, they all use storytelling because it's actually what helps us to better connect. So this is why we promote it in every way. And of course, in this training, we are promoting it also in the area of conflict reporting, how to shape a reality and the rest of it, because storytelling is a powerful instrument, as you will come to understand along the way. So this is the masterclass. It's free. You don't need to pay anything. When I send you the link, you will just connect like you connect now. Then you have different people giving a lecture on different topic, from learning how to craft a compelling brand story, storytelling for crisis management, storytelling technique for marketing, startup journey, data-driven storytelling. There are a lot of things that are going to be covered that day. And that is for day 1, which is sort of giving you the setup of what we are going to cover. In week 2, I'm going to give a lecture on conflict reporting. This is very important, at least to what we are talking about in this class, which is You're going to help us to dive into the idea of reporting, what are the dynamic of conflict reporting, and what do you need to learn about it. That will be followed by each group leader presenting their project, how they intend to approach it, and what solution they hope to provide about conflict resolution in JAWS using storytelling. That is something that actually escaped me just now. That today, before we finish today, of course, that is actually in the ending part of it, we're going to split the entire class into 3 groups. Anyway, we'll come to that later, so that why I'm talking about each group leader, because I haven't told you that before, because by the end of today, the class rep, the 2 class rep, are going to be saddled with the responsibility of splitting up the class into 3, so that each group of these 3 are going to embark on a mission of reporting, where they're going to interview people and come up with a report. And on the ending, at the ending of this event, which is for the 5th week, that is good. We are going to produce a report. This group, each of them is going to produce a report that we are going to publish on the project page that show to the people what you have actually done in the course of this training. So yeah, that is going to come later in the class. Now, another thing that I also like to tell us is that in some of the session there might be assignments, and whenever there is one, I want to just claim your indulgence to please attempt it for your own good. I don't have the intention of going into the science and benefit of assignment here, but I just want to let us know that it has been proven that you have more chances of retaining what you have learned, what you have been taught, if you participate. Instead of just staying there and consuming the information, so that when you maybe compare your hand to write, you document something about what you have learned, you have more chances of learning or retaining the information than when you simply just there maybe listening. So I will encourage us to do that. In most of my training, I do encourage people to take action. And one of these actions is to, maybe if you are given a homework or an assignment, is to please pay attention to that. It is important for you, not for the trainer. The trainer have no benefit in that. It is you that have the benefit. So it is important that you do that. All right. In day 3, we are going to look at the power of context and relatability in storytelling. And that's a day we will look also at fieldwork analysis. And that 3rd week, of course, we begin with a presentation about the power of context and relatability in storytelling. Why this is important is that it will help the student understand the role of context in storytelling and reporting, and of course, how to create relatable stories. Now, of relatable story, I want to spend a few seconds there saying that when you tell story to people, it is important that the story that you tell need to be relatable to the people that you are telling the story to. In that, if you tell a story, just now, before we started this conversation, I had a call with a prospect in Canada who wanted to understand how to use story in her work. And then, of course, we had a conversation. And during the conversation, I shared some story with her. The story I told her is different from the type of story that I told with another person, because also today I had also another call with another prospect. This one is coming from, she's in Kenya. She also wants to understand how to use a story. You see, the story that I share with the one from Kenya and the story that I share with the other person from Canada, both of them are women, are different type of story, because I want the story to relate to them, because each of them is treating separate argument. Each of them have different kind of client, and each of them, you can say, have different kind of reality. What I'm trying to say by that is that when you take up a story to tell, or when you want to shape a reality, it is important that you pay attention to who are you telling this story, and who is the audience, and what is important to them. Of course, we go in detail on this when we come to the week 3. I'm just sort of giving you a preamble about that. that it is very important to pay attention to those things. And that will be followed by the students sharing idea about their initial finding in their field work, of course within JOS, because JOS is our central point here. And this will enable us to understand how they are progressing with the primary task of gathering information, conducting interview with key stakeholders, and capturing compelling story related to the conflict in the region. I think it's an opportunity for you because you live in JOS, so you see a lot of things for yourself. And again, you are Nigerians, you are shaping your country. Of course, I will speak a bit about this later on before we end today's journey. That this is a kind of a noble job for us to be able to shape a narrative for our country. So we must look at it from the eyes of service. We want to do a service to our community, so we need to look at it that we really need to look at it as a mission instead of a kind of a job. Okay, all right. What is happening in week 4? Well, in week 4, we talk about the role of storytelling in shaping a different narrative. This is very important for me because we're talking about shaping a narrative. Yeah, that is going to be really very important. Because when you are telling story to people, when you are sharing story to people, whether in the area of business or in this case in journalism, is always about shaping a narrative. And it's like after the attack on World Trade Center, the people that were there, of course, saw something that happened. But the journalists, of course, need to be called upon to make sense of what have happened. They're the ones that will shape the reality. Because the ordinary people do not have the techniques to be able to put the data together and make story out of it. Because why? Not because they are stupid. It's not because of that. It's not because they are not intelligent. It's not because of that. Each of us have different capability also based on our training. Now, for example, imagine yourself, you are undergoing a training now. Not everybody is undergoing this kind of training. So you don't want to tell me that at the end of the day, they will just do what you are able to do. They cannot, because they do not know what you know. So they cannot act based on the information that they do not have. So it is very important that as a journalist or as people who work in the media using storytelling, you are essentially shaping reality. So we should never underestimate that. And of course, I believe that the reason Dr. Aigbe made this call to me for this training is also because he believes that you, as Nigeria, as student, you can shape a better future for Nigeria. So I just beg you to please believe in your ability to do this and be a good example for others out there, because not everybody might have the chance like you do. Of course, we all have chances in different areas. It doesn't mean that where you are today is the pinnacle of life. No, you are having access to a different kind of information. So what we are essentially telling you is to use this information for the good of you, for the good of the people of JOS, and for the good of the Nigerian people. This is essentially what it means. And for other people who have access to other type of information that you do not have access to, they also need to act in their own area, doing the best they can for themselves and for the country. That is how we can progress as a nation. And the truth is that if we want a better country, it is up to us to build that country. And it starts by shaping a different narrative. In that, I just want to share a small story with you. I said before that I do podcasting, which means I interview people from different walks of life, from politicians to businessmen to religious leaders to individuals to lecturers at university, from US, UK, Nigeria, everywhere. No? So there was this lecturer I was interviewing in Nigeria. We were talking about development. And then we were talking about why is it that in the country we are still grossly underdeveloped like this. I'm not just talking about the corruption among the political elite, but that is something that is inherently, I don't know if I can actually say it like that, that is obviously wrong with our system, with the Nigerian system. So the lecturer was telling me, actually is a lecturer in Ibadan University, he was telling me that if we compare what is happening in Nigeria to maybe other parts of the world, like maybe in China. I think he used the example of Singapore. That what happened there is that they have a grand scheme of things. That they also have a situation where everything was crumbling, but at a point, the people need to look back to their culture and look for a way to reshape their reality, their narrative, so that their country can have a different footing, a different future. So we come back again to the same argument, which is that we must look for a way to reshape a narrative. We want to look for a way to reshape a future for our country. And this is the job that you are being tasked to do as journalists or as people in the media, to shape a different kind of narrative for the people. Because everybody is not able to understand what you understand. So they're going to rely on you. You're going to be the eyes for them to be able to understand reality. So you are going to use that privilege very well to help the people understand. In this session, because I said I really love this particular session, which is week 4, I will present you with some historical examples and why storytelling is such a powerful tool to shape a narrative. That is going to be on day 4. Now, on the final day, which is day 5, what we talk about, of course, that is when we are going to do the presentation and the conference. We are going to organize an international conference. International conference. Of course, everything these days is international because now I'm in Italy, you are there in Nigeria. We are talking, so already international. So it means on that day, we're going to have a conference where we will talk about this training program, and then we'll invite some people to share ideas. And the student, of course, will also have the time to submit what you have put together, what you have compiled, your finding, incorporated text, document, video material. All this will serve as a basis for your final presentation. So that day is the day, I don't know what to call it, day of reckoning, but it's the day actually that we look at what we have actually come out with from this 5 days training. It's an online conference where you also will have the chance to be able to speak for yourself and tell the world what you have learned. And the documentation process, this is important because the material that we get, I remember, for example, when Dr. Aigbe first made the call to me, he was talking of the idea of maybe having a podcast or something that can outlive your session in the school, which is something that I really love a lot. In that, what can we really do to make sure that it can stay? Because now I went to school in Nigeria. I went to a school that is called Hollywood in Uromi. Now the school is no longer in existence, but we really do not have anything that we can hold on to say this was our set, this was our time, and this was what we did maybe that we have left behind for other people. So Dr. Aigbe having this idea that you could leave something behind for other students that are coming after you, I look at it as a really big thinking. Like he can see far ahead, and he wants you to be proud of yourself, and also want the other student, your yoga one that are going to come after you, to be proud of you, because by the time you have left something behind for them that they can read, that they can consult, it will be really very important for them to have a good bearing. So to do this, we have decided that we are going to create a project page on our website where we are going to document what have happened. And of course, that is a sample of that you can check also on our website, because this is not the first time we are doing a project like this. In my about discussion that I said in the beginning of this conversation, I told you that I carried out the research here. So in that research, all the people that have worked with me, from professor to ordinary people, media houses, all their names are on our project page, so that even when we are no longer here, people can consult that and know those who have worked with us. This is the same thing that we want to do also with this project, in that we want to have a copy of what have happened. For example, like in this recording, is going to be put on our YouTube channel, so that you can, if you like, you can download and keep a copy for yourself. What we really want to do is to make sure that it doesn't just end here. We want it to stay for a longer time. That is the kind of what we have in mind in terms of the documentation, so that we want to have it both in text, we want to have it, if possible, also in books, because we do write books. Why not? Like the idea that was originally suggested by Dr. Aigbe, which is to have a podcast or a project. We can talk about that. We can actually develop that project later on. Why I'm telling us that is we need to look far ahead of what we are doing, that it doesn't just end in these 5 days. We can do something more with it, but of course we can also let it end here. The choice is to us, and nobody is giving us any limitation. The limitation that we are going to set, we are going to set it ourselves, so we can do whatever we want to do with it. Because a project like this can actually expand, you see. So by the end of this 5 days, 5 week, I don't know why I usually call it 5 days, the program, the participating student will have acquired practical skills and knowledge in conflict reporting through storytelling. And I also believe that you would have learned how to effectively gather information, conduct interview, do analysis or analytic reporting, and compellingly, of course, present your finding. That is going to be very important. And moreover, the project will foster an understanding of the importance of ethical reporting, cultural sensitivity, and the impact of narrative on conflict resolution. Of course, Nigeria is not the only place that we have conflict. That is one thing that we must understand. There are conflicts all across the places. The small story I was sharing with you in the beginning, talking about when our ancestors were living without houses. There were no houses in the world there because we haven't yet evolved. Agriculture have not yet evolved. They were basically living in chaos. So we have always lived in conflict. But the point is that we don't always need to allow conflict to govern us. We need to govern the conflict. I remember one time we were doing an audio room. We were talking about the role of conflict in storytelling. I deliberately removed that from this conversation because we are looking at conflict. I don't want us to conflict that, no. But in storytelling in general, a story without a conflict is going to be very boring. It's going to be you are not going to like it, no. It is the type of story that we call flat, no. Is that they don't have energy to pull you. Whereas when a story have conflict, then you can you find the story interesting to follow. So it is important that we understand that we, as a people, are not the only individual to have conflict, and so we can always look for a way to also govern our conflict and live beyond it. This project on using storytelling in conflict reporting is just through a 5-week program. Of course, it is designed to come with an innovative and engaging approach on understanding and conveying the complexity of conflict. Of course, it doesn't mean that the only thing that I've listed here are the only thing that we're going to talk about. We're also open to hearing from you, to listening to your suggestion, to answering your questions. Maybe you have a challenge about conducting an interview. We are here to be able to guide you on that, so that you know how to approach the situation. What kind of question to ask, you know what to take along with you, because most of us have already done this part, so it becomes easy for us to be able to guide you if you ever need any help in that area. So it doesn't mean the only thing that I've mentioned here is only what we are going to cover. We can also touch about some other thing. Other than the live presentation during the final report of this training, the report must also be made in, of course, that is my idea. I think it makes sense also to Dr. Aigbe and also to you, of course, that the report are made available also in Word doc. so that they can be published on the project page. Because like I said, we're going to have a dedicated project page so that you can consult it also for yourself, so that even when you have finished your school, you are working, maybe some instances might warrant you going back to look at the project. You can just simply come to our website and you see the project again. And then I was also making reference to the first project that we have done, which is the Journey African Seed Verona, which is my research about the presence of African Seed Verona. That project, if you go there, you will see a list of people who have collaborated with us. We do that so that people who are interested, they can basically take that project. You take the book, for example, or you watch a documentary, and you look at the list of people. You can go there. You can use that one as a basis for you to start. So each final report, in this sense, there are going to be 3, like I already said. We carry the names of all the students in the group, the people interviewed, and any other people who would have collaborated in the success of the report. This is so that we can also preserve their experiences and their participation in the research. Now think about this. We could decide to make something more substantial out of this work, like I was saying before, like a book, an independent podcast, a TV, a movie with your name on it. Many years after you have gone, people will come to see and read about the effort you have made to shape a better narrative for your country. This is what it's all about, the legacy. And if you go to our website, aclasses.org, you will see how much importance we place on our Life and Legacy project. We interview different experts. We are collecting story about all the presidents, all the leaders of Nigeria. We make stories about them because we believe that it is our duty to do this. A couple of days ago, I published a biography about my eldest brother in Nigeria. And when I was presenting that book, a tear was almost like coming out from my eyes because it was the first time really I was talking about my family in that light. In that it is important to do this thing because oftentimes we don't realize how important it is to document our experiences and make it available for those who will come after us. Yes, sometimes I can understand that because of the situation that we find ourselves, because we are almost at existential level. Of course, I don't want to go so much in detail on that because it needs a bit of time for explanation. I remember, for example, I was interviewing the Nigerian ambassador to Italy a couple of years ago, and I was asking him, but why are Nigeria just jumping around? We are never able to focus on our problem. And he was telling me, well, we are running. If you are running, you don't concentrate. It's very important that we document our passes. We leave our history behind for others that will be here. So in the story of my eldest brother, like I was saying before, I was saying that I'm not writing this for my eldest brother. I am not writing it even for myself. I am writing it for the children that will be born in my village many years after we have died, so that they can pick up a book and read. Because honestly speaking, the reason I started my project here in Italy about the presence of Africa is that I came here, I just wanted to pick up a book and read about Africans in this city. I didn't see anyone. So that is why I started the project. And talking about why we are concentrating so much, or why we are so key on our Life and Legacy project, is because I would really have loved that if I go to my village, I pick up a book about my village and read. You know, it will not be too much to ask for, but I can't just tell you maybe, there is no, throughout the time that I grew up there, before I left, there was no single book where the name of my village was even mentioned. And this is not because there are no educated people. This is not, so if I go to Urumi, for example, where I'm coming from, my town, I want to be able to read a book about our high chief, our leaders, the prominent people in our town. The first person to move the motion of independence for Nigeria is coming from my town. I want to be able to pick up books, not just one book, but books about him. Why did he decide to move motion of independence at that time? So what can we learn from him? When the colonialists came to Africa, what did we do? I'm not saying there are no books about that, but we can never have enough of that, you see. So it is important that we document our passes. We let people understand that we have been here because we don't live forever. So this is our time to be able to make our contribution also in Jos, Nigeria. Talking of Jos, Nigeria again, many of you probably are born in Jos. Do you know that Jos, central Nigeria, that is a very vital part of the country? I don't know if many of you are aware of the Nok culture. That is dating back thousands of years. That would even be enough for somebody to just take up a project for him or herself and say, I am going to find out everything I can about the Nok culture. Who are the Nok people? Why did they do what they did? And of course, again, it would take a Dutch person to discover that Nok culture in central Nigeria. But we are Nigerians. We probably are even living in Jos. We don't need to travel anywhere. Maybe this is our job, I'm just thinking that this is what we are supposed to do, to tell our story. You see, that video that I share with you guys, telling you how I intended to embark on this training, you see that it was about how to transform your passion to business. I really mean it. I think it is important that where you are right now in Jos, you could become a business person just talking about the Nok culture, because the university in New York who want to learn more about the Nok culture, they are not in Nigeria, they are not in Jos. You are in Jos. You can say, I am sitting in the same village of the Nok people. Nobody can contest that from you. You have absolutely more than 100% right to that culture because it is your culture. So I believe that if we learn the power of storytelling and look at your locality where you are, I believe you can do something extraordinary. I really do believe so. So let's spend this time together. Let's try to learn from each other. Let's try to ask the question that we believe we need to have clarification from, because I believe that we are tickling with one of the most powerful instruments in existence, storytelling.
So you were sorry to take you back. When you were discussing the documentation process, do you mean it should be for us or for the children or maybe the our audience, how they would be able to jot down something, or it would be for the student, your immediate student that you're trying to put through?
Thank you for that question. Definitely it's going to be you, in that when you go out to do your investigation, after your investigation, you are going to come up with a report. That is what I'm referring to as a report. So maybe Group A decide that they want to create a documentary instead of just a PDF report at the final day. Maybe Group B decide that they want to create a report, a written report. So when I say report or documentation, I'm actually referring to us, the students, because you are the one that are creating it. We are just sort of helping you to achieve your objective of the documentation.